Good evening, everyone. It's Thursday, which means that it's time for Necromaniacs. Here today with Mike Scandato. How's it going, man?
I am very well. What's up, everybody? That's right. It is Necromaniacs podcast time. Beautiful Thursday in the thick of October, in the thick of Halloween time. And trying to get as many new horror movies under our belts as we can here, folks. We're trying to keep up with the content out there. And I feel like there's just so much happening this year around Halloween that it's difficult to keep up with all the new movies. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah. Actually, there's quite a bit going on. I actually purchased tickets to check out Terrifier 2 in the movie
Mm-hmm.
theater, and going in a couple days.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to see that. So, anyone, the listeners who've been wondering, yes, we will cover it uh, very soon. But of course, you are going to get, after this episode, our three-way discussion of Halloween Ends. Just want to give a little teaser out there in case those were wondering when we were covering that. We will cover that. So, we're not going to talk about Halloween tonight at all, Mike Hill. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that episode will be out the week of Halloween.
Right.
So Halloween week will be the Halloween episode.
Yes. We're going to talk about our opinions on Halloween Ends, the movie. So this past weekend, Mike, we hung out together Saturday, didn't we?
Yeah, no, I had a great time, man. Back in Brooklyn, Coney Island, good
hmm
times.
Yeah, my band Inhuman did a show outdoors at the Coney Island Brewery with Rebel Matic and Kings Never Die. It was a lot of fun, great turnout, a lot of old faces, new faces, good times all around. Thank you if you came out to the show. Thank you very much from me and the Inhuman crew.
Yeah, it was good times, man. I saw a lot of people I haven't seen in a while. And I used to spend a lot of time in that neighborhood. You know what I mean? I used to
hmm
live out there for a while. Over the
Yeah,
years, spent a lot of time out there, and
yeah.
so it was good. A little, nostalgic. Being in Brooklyn
Mm,
since I don't live there anymore. But
yeah,
you can always come and visit, I guess.
that's true. Memories, man. The memories come flooding back, as they say. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I like that place. I like playing there. I like that stage setup they have, and my hats off to Jerry Farley who puts on all of the shows there. He's going to be doing stuff next summer and got a lot going on. So yeah, my hats off to Jerry and the entire staff at the Coney Island Brewery. Um, yeah, man, fun times indeed. Um, I got to also, like catch up with people I hadn't seen in a while too. There were people who came to that show who used to go see Inhuman in the late '90s and early O's, and I have not seen them since. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, there was a ton of people there, man. Ralphie Boy from
Uh-huh.
Disassociate was there.
Yeah,
Uh,
from Sick of It All.
yeah, Lou.
Um,
A bunch of people I haven't seen in a minute.
yeah, no, it was a lot of fun, and it meant a lot to us that people came out and had a good time, and yeah, man, good shit. Uh, at the top of the show, dear listeners, if you're a new listener, an old listener, you may know that we like to do the plugs. And the plugs are when we promote our friends, our gang of podcasts in this world, right, Mike?
That's right, man. We got a nice little group of like-minded people out there, and pretty
hmm
much every day during the week, you can check out a podcast by one of us, which is actually pretty cool, I think.
I agree. Yes, you can. Why don't you tell them what we got on Monday?
All right, on Monday, we got Horror Wolf 666, brought to you by Brandon Legion. And he is another horror podcast. However, there's a distinction between what he does and what we do. Brandon is bases his show on interviews. He talks to all
hmm
kinds of different people, filmmakers, actors, old school dudes, up and comers. Really good
hmm
show. Definitely check it out.
It is more of what I'm going to call guest driven. It is a guest driven show, whereas our show is more of chatty, opinionated review show, right, Mike?
Yeah, it's a review show. That's
It's a
exactly right.
review show.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not a guest show. Although we have had guests on the show, right, Mike?
I feel like people didn't really, yeah, they kind of didn't feel those episodes. So that's why we haven't done any of those in a while.
True, true. I think the basis of this show is different than, the Horror Wolf show, and that's why we make for good bedfellows, as they say.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
On Tuesday, folks, into the Necrosphere for all of your extreme metal needs. Big fan of that show, and coming up very soon, very, very soon, is the episode where Mr. Hill and I are guests. We are not telling you what that episode is about. That episode has a very specific topic, right, Mike?
That's right. And I think I might have said some controversial things on that show. So, so everyone keep that in mind.
Yeah. Mike and I are big metal fans. And if you're a metal fan, you're going to want to tune in to that particular episode of Into the Necrosphere. It's the crossover episode, Mike, between us and the Necrosphere.
That's right. And everyone loves those crossover episodes.
That's right, man. Like those cool superhero crossovers, great shit. On Wednesday, we have the one that started it all, the face that launched 1,000 ships, as they say. Everything Went Black podcast featuring Mr. Mike Hill himself. Mike Hill, tell the new listeners, a little bit about Everything Went Black.
Well, Everything Went Black is a very, let's say, eclectic show. We have guests. I do some stuff with some recurring co-hosts like Ralph Schmidt. Jay Bennett's been on a bunch. Actually, the very first episode was with you.
That's right.
It was after we saw a Serbian film at the Alpine in Brooklyn.
And that was the nucleus of Necromaniacs.
That's right.
That was the nucleus.
And anyone who caught the show yesterday will realize that there was not a new episode because I had some unforeseen circumstances I had to deal with last week. And I had to pull one from the vault. And coincidentally, it was an old show with Mike Scandato.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. We're going to, in case people didn't check it out, shame on them. We will not reveal what that one was about. How about that?
Yeah. It's never too late, though.
Never too late. Never too late. Go back into the back episodes of us, into Everything Went Black, into the Necrosphere. A lot of great content. On Thursday, you guessed it, the Necromaniacs podcast, which you are listening to right now. And I really hope you subscribe on iTunes or Spotify. On Friday, you have my flesh and blood, the elusive and mysterious John Draper himself with his Break the Apocalypse podcast. Check it out for your comedic needs, topics of the day. Very interesting podcast. What do we have on Sunday, Michael?
On the Lord's Day, we have Soul Knocks, brought to you by Carl Hikara. And that's for all things occult, weird, and esoteric.
And talk about crossover episodes. You have been on his show, of course.
Yep.
And Jackie from Into the Necrosphere has recently been on his show as well.
Yeah. See how this all works. We all work together.
One day, one of these shows, hint, hint, we'll ask little old me on the show. Have me as a guest on one of them. That would be nice, right?
Yeah, no, totally, man. Yeah, actually, real quick about the elusive John Draper, man.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to catching him on Saturday.
Yeah, he alas, he could not make it. But I'm going to see John in November 4th, actually, when our buddies in Black Anvil who are going on tour with Immolation, Cannibal Corpse, and Dark Funeral. That is the Albany, New York date, Michael. So Stella and I are taking the trek up to Albany for that.
Right on. Sounds like a good time.
And yeah, John will be there too. John will get his medal on. So yeah, it'll be a fun time. Indeed. Aside from that, before we get into the actual film of the night, Mike, want to share what you've been reading, watching, listening to?
Well, I've really been into this Let the Right One In Showtime series. You know, there's 2 episodes up.
Hmm.
It's I was very dubious about it at first. You know, I remember Rennie brought it up, and I was like, I don't know, man. And then I checked it out, and I gotta say, man, I really dig it. It's obviously a departure from the novel and the Swedish movie, the original.
And the American movie.
Yeah,
This is the
I didn't
fourth
care
go
for.
round.
Yeah,
If you really think about it, this is the fourth, like, I don't know what the word is, not fourth property. It's like the fourth adaptation. It's pretty amazing, huh?
well, it's yes and no. It really doesn't have much to do with the storyline of the of the movie slash books, the books
Right.
book slash movies. It takes the idea, some of the character you know points, it kind of goes off on its own direction, and it reminds me a little bit of a Vertigo comic from the '90s. You
That's a
know,
great accolade. I saw episode one and I dug it. May even go into episode two tonight, actually,
yeah.
before I hit the hay. Yeah, I liked episode one quite a bit. So yeah, so far from the Necro camp, the Let the Right One In gets the thumbs up there, huh?
Yeah, yeah, I dig it, man. And I've been banging out episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and
Oh, cool.
I've always been a big fan of that show, and it's been a while since I've revisited it. So it's good times.
What service is Buffy on?
Hulu.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Um, I what have I been watching? I mean, honestly, super, super into the last episode from last night of House of the Dragon, Michael. Did you see that episode?
I kind of fell off actually. I'll probably catch up.
Oh, last night though, man, it made the last two or three, which were well just okay for me, uh, all worthwhile. Not going to spoil it for those who haven't seen it. It was a gangbusters episode. It was kind of what I've been waiting for this whole season like. I really like Game of Thrones. I was a big fan of it, and the cool thing about Game of Thrones to me was that I felt like, at least for a good majority of the show's run, every episode there was something going on. There was action. You were not kind of looking at your phone, man. It was a pretty fucking hardcore, exciting show. And to me, last night's episode of House of the Dragon was reminiscent of like top Game of Thrones. That is what I will say, as opposed to like, I think the last few episodes this season, which have been kind of hot and cold and uneven. Um, it's what I really wanted to see. Me and my brother John were talking about it today, and it was like, finally, like they gave us what we wanted. So yeah, good episode.
Yeah, I'll probably catch up on it. I just I don't know. I just kind of wasn't really feeling it at first, but I'm sure that I'll rip a couple of episodes at some point.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, as far as on the listening front, been listening to a bunch of Death Spell Omega in the last few days. I've been putting them on in the background while I work. Some Funeral Mist. Um, who else? I've been listening to My Dying Bride. My Dying Bride season, really, Michael, if you really think about it. I
Absolutely,
mean,
man.
it's kind of like My Dying Bride, Old Anathema, Old Paradise Lost season. Like October, November is great months for that kind of stuff, in my opinion. Would you agree?
Yes, I totally agree with that.
It's funny that it's like people probably want to know, well, what about typo negative? I don't necessarily need a month for typo. Like, October is obviously a great typo month, but I'm kind of a year-rounder for them, especially like the first two records in particular, and Dead Again, the last record, which I really, really like, which is finally getting reissued properly in November from Nuclear Blast on CD and vinyl. Been completely out of print for a very long time, so that's good.
Yeah, Typo also sounds really good in the summertime too.
Yes, hell yes, agree, totally agree. Uh, Tonight, folks, we are keeping in line with the new material. We have covered Dahmer, we've covered the Munsters, we covered Nope, we covered Glorious, and tonight we are covering the new film from one of our, would you say, favorite directors collectively? Would you say? Would you agree?
Yeah, no, totally, man.
And of course, I mean Dark Glasses from the maestro himself, Mr. Dario Argento. Very cool that we get to do an episode about a new Argento movie. Isn't that a good thing?
Yes, especially after how am I going to say this? The quality of his last
Yes.
couple things.
Dracula is not a good movie. I remember I watched it, and I remember you and I, watched it separately, and I remember we talked about it, and we were just like, wow, like,
Yeah.
I mean, we really wanted it to be good. Like, I remember I was like kind of stoked on it. Yeah, there was a lot of shitty advance word on it, and I kind of knew it probably wasn't going to be that great, but I didn't care. Like, I put it on and I was excited anyway. It had Rucker Hauer in it, and like sometimes when you know something's going to be bad, but you don't care because you want it to be good.
Yeah, no,
And
that's I
that
feel
was
about it.
Dracula.
I've had that experience, for sure.
Um, I gotta say that has been several Argento movies in the modern era. Dracula 3D, Giallo, and the Mother of Tears are movies that I literally have seen once each and have had no desire to go back to. What about you for those three movies?
Yeah, I'll never watch those again. Yet I just watched Suspiria and Inferno like
Yeah,
about a week and a half ago. So
okay. Um, I'm gonna say it right off at the jump here. I feel that Dark Glasses is his best movie in 20 years. 20 years ago was Non Hosono, Sleepless, in the good old USA. I thought Sleepless was quite good, and I enjoyed it. Um, but everything after Sleepless, Card Player, Mother of Tears, Giallo, and Dracula 3D, no bueno. Um, but I am happy to report I enjoy Dark Glasses, Michael. What about you?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it plays like a real movie. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, unlike, say for example, Dracula 3D. You know,
Yeah,
Dracula 3D looked like it was on like the Sci-Fi Channel or something like that.
right. It looked TV movie-esque like, didn't it? It looked like very little was spent on it. It just was not shot properly, you know? And I don't, it's like a part of me wants to see it again, but I'm kind of like you, where I kind of have no desire to see it again, even though it has Rucker Hauer and Asia Argento in it. It doesn't save it for me.
Yeah, I just don't have that kind of time, man. To be
No,
to be
no.
doing stuff like watching that movie again.
Uh, Another cool thing about Dark Glasses, it is his 20th film, 20th directed movie. Mike, did you know that?
No, but
Yeah.
that's quite an accomplishment.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, um, you know, uh, this movie came out in Italy on February 24th, 2022, and it literally just hit Shutter last week. It actually hit Shutter October 13th. Um, the Blu-ray U.S. Blu-ray actually came out October 7th, which I'm tempted to pick up. Were you thinking the same when you watched it?
Yes, I was thinking about getting the Blu-ray, and I also purchased the film score.
Yeah. Again, the score on this one, folks, while not Goblin, it is pretty damn banging. Little sidebar to kick this off about the score. Initially, Daft Punk was set to do the score for this movie, but they were replaced by the gentleman who did do the score, Arnaud Rebatoni, because Daft Punk went on to break up. They broke up before they were actually able to kind of get it done. Uh, doesn't matter, man. This is banging. Arnaud Rebatoni did a fantastic job here.
Yeah, man. Apparently, he's in a band called Black Strobe,
Hmm.
which is
Okay.
I checked it out. It's similar to the sounds of this film score. Electronics. There's some experimentation going on, but I mean this film score different. You know what I mean? Different from like a Goblin type of thing where there's like jazz kind of the Goblin sound. You know,
Yeah. No.
this is like straight up like electronic music.
Yeah. Like dance music, pretty
Dance
much.
music.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's yeah,
yeah.
but it's fucking cool, and it works very well for this film, I think, or I thought. Just a bit of a rundown here. Dark Glasses, Occhiali, 2022 giallo film, directed, I'm sorry, and co-written by Dario Argento, his first work since Dracula 3D back in 2012, as we said. Argento co-wrote this one with Franco Ferrini and Carlo Lucarelli. It stars Ileana Pastorelli as Diana, Asia Argento as Rita, Andrea Geffarelli as Matteo, uh, Xinyu Zhang as Chin, and several other smaller roles. There mainly four main characters in this movie. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And Chin is
Mhm.
actually plays a pretty pivotal role in this whole thing. You know.
Yes, very young male Chinese boy. Um, the cool thing is his excellent fluent Italian. Of note, folks, this is not dubbed. This movie, there's no English track. It is Italian with subtitles, baby, on Shutter. I was so happy for that, weren't you?
Oh man, I would much rather read subtitles than have
Yes.
anything dubbed. You know.
Yeah. No dubbing. Italian with the subs. I am wondering though if on the disc you have the English option with, you know what I'm saying? It might be. I bet there probably is, actually. Something tells me there is, at least on the American Blu-ray. I will have to pick it up and see. But I was thrilled to see that once it started and the dialogue kicked in, that it was in Italian. Very happy about that. But I bet there's some moron out there that was unhappy about that. I bet my life on that one, including you know actual horror fans who just don't like reading subtitles, period, which is a goddamn shame.
You're missing out on so many great movies, man. All those French
Mhm.
films, all these Italian films, all that stuff.
Totally, totally. The idea for Dark Glasses goes back to 2002, when the film had a different producer in mind, Vittorio Gori. Gori's company went bankrupt, which put the project on ice, and it was shelved until Dario's daughter Asia kind of rediscovered this film while she was writing her own autobiography, Anatomy of a Wild Heart. Um, so apparently, I guess the reason why there's, literally like a 10-year gap between Argento's films is because at one point this was going to be made sooner, but I guess because of, problems with the initial company that was going to put it out, it's sat. That's kind of what I got from that.
Yeah, it's I could see that. I mean, this is I'm looking something up here real quick.
Sure.
Ileana Pastorelli. Do you know what other films she's been in? I was trying to. I remember when I was putting my notes together. I was like curious about if she's been in any other films like this.
No, but she's done Italian fare. All You Need Is Crime, Braze Ragazze, Four to Dinner, uh, Blessed Madness. Literally under 10 credits to her name in Italy. So beautiful woman, Michael. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And she has just like that look that of a woman actress who would be in a movie like this. You know what I mean?
hmm A lot of experience working as a model. She reached notoriety in 2011 participating in Grande Fratello 12, which is an Italian version of Big Brother,
Oh,
uh,
interesting.
which where she I guess caused quite a sensation. So she's known in Italy, basically, is what I'm getting the gist of. Uh, Now she will definitely be known in the horror world in America, especially among Argento's fans. Would you guess that would be a correct statement?
Yeah, I'd like to see her do more films like this actually, because I think her aesthetic really fits. You know,
Yeah.
even though the gialli are a period kind of thing, I kind of would
hmm
like that more to see more films like this, and I feel like there was a little bit of bump in interest in this type of film in the recent years.
Right, right. She has this look, dude. She literally almost looks like she's from the early 80s. Like she looks like the girl at the end of Tenebrae who gets her arm cut off. Like she has that black hair and the red lips, like this striking. She literally looks like she was born to be in a giallo film. That's what she looks like, which
Yeah,
is a pretty cool look.
yeah, 100%, man.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, this movie very much more so than his film Giallo. Actually, this
way more.
film really captures the atmosphere of those movies. And, like I said, we've said it before on this show. It might not be your cup of tea, like
hmm
watching these weird Italian movies that we like, because it's definitely a vibe. You know what I mean?
hmm
But you know, I love that style. There's like a little bit of a far fetched element to it. There's
Right.
the way the action happens. The violence is like very specific. There's a very specific way they do violence in these movies,
hmm
and the plots. You know, it's
Exactly.
yeah. I really just like the whole atmosphere of giallo films.
I agree 100%. I mean, I'm a tremendous fan, longtime fan. I enjoy even the really shitty ones I still kind of enjoy, but when they're done well, uh, it's certainly well worth sitting there and watching them. The plot of this movie, folks, Ileana Pastorelli as Diana is an Italian escort who was attacked and blinded by a serial killer in an attempted murder. While escaping the attack by car, she meets a young Chinese boy who assists her later on due to her lack of sight. Dario Argento, of course, is also in the film and also served as the film's producer. Adria's role as Rita, as the, blind, not assistant. What would you say Adria is in this movie? She's like a blind, like not teacher,
Yeah, I would say she
like an aide, right? She's an aide for the blind.
yeah, she instructs recently blind people on how to get around better. Like
Right.
there's like cell phones, how to navigate their
Mhm.
apartments.
Right.
She sets her up with a seeing eye dog, like that kind of thing.
Mhm.
You know.
It's funny, like on purpose, I've read very little about what this movie is because, again, I like to be surprised. All I did was see a trailer months back, and I just kind of put it in the back of my head because I always knew it was coming to Shutter, and I wanted to be, like a clean slate. Um, and for some reason, I was expecting Aja to have a very different kind of role in this, but she is very subdued in this movie. Not a huge role, and it's funny. Like I was telling somebody that Aja is literally kind of turning into her mother as the years pass, Dario Nicolodi, and it has never been more present really than in this movie. Like she's even starting to have her mom's voice, I think.
Yeah,
Like her
real
voice is
husky.
now, yes. From what I understand, Aja is a big cigarette smoker and it has clearly affected her voice. She now sounds like her mom, which is wild. She used to have a very different sound to her voice, I feel like, because I've seen everything she's ever been in. Um, and in this, it's like, wow, she's like slowly morphing into her mother. Her mother was a beautiful woman. Aja is definitely a beautiful woman, but I feel like she's like finally kind of reminding me of Daria Nicolodi more than ever. What about your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, man, totally. I mean, also she's more of like a supporting character
Yeah.
in this film.
Hmm.
I would say that the Diana character is more of the star. The
Yeah.
Elenia Pastorelli.
Hmm.
And yeah, have you seen the sad episode of Parts Unknown where she's in it with have you seen any of that?
I saw an okay years back. I saw an episode that she was in with you know, Bourdain, where they were like super in love and into each other. That's the only thing I like. That's it. Like I saw one episode, prior to the whole tragedy. That's it.
Yeah, she comes off
Um,
real cool. I like her in that. She just
yeah,
her
no,
personality is like really cool.
I know. I know that. Look, we are not going to discuss the controversy between Bourdain and Argento. That is, I don't know. I have an opinion on it. I'm not even going to share my opinion on it. How about that, Michael?
No, I don't want to have any
Exactly.
commentary on that. You know what I mean?
No, no. Rest in peace, Mr. Bourdain, Argento. We are fans of you and your work, and that is all I will say there. Back to the actual film. Um, it reminds me, especially the beginning, reminded me of Tenebrae. Did it remind you of Tenebrae much?
A little bit.
Mhm.
There's a lot of scenes
Um,
of just like travel. Through
mhm.
this is taking place in Rome, I believe, right?
I think so. Yes, I feel like they didn't say exactly if it was. I mean, that was the vibe I got. Yeah, I'm gonna say Rome. I know he shoots a lot of his stuff in Turin, but there's like last several prior films, but I think this one is Rome. Um, Nice looking film. Certainly, again, it looks like while I don't know what was spent on it, it is not listed on its Wikipedia page. I couldn't really find the budget. It looks considerably better than his last three films
Well, yeah,
visually.
that's what I was getting at earlier was that they spent some money and they decided to hire an actual cinematographer, I think, to shoot this film.
Mm. Instead of on a camcorder.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, you know what? It's getting mixed reviews so far, which, hey, comes with the territory, right? I think, look, man, your Carpenters, your Romeros, your Cravens, your Argentos, whose early to mid period work is up on such a fucking pedestal, right? And it's so important and it's so criticized and dissected that their work when they're in their 70s or 80s is it's almost unfair to compare. Do you think what do you think about that?
Yeah, but I mean, all right. Look, we had a pretty good movie by David Cronenberg come out recently.
Yes,
You know,
that's
and
very true.
yeah, and that and he had a couple of misses along the way.
Hmm.
With some arguable misses. Some people I like some of those movies.
Right.
Um, I kind of felt like this is similar to what's going on with Cronenberg because this movie way better, infinitely better than anything he's done in about 20 or 30 years,
Hmm.
and might be indicative of maybe a resurgence for him. Because this movie held together really well, shot
Mm-hmm.
really well. It looks better than like Dracula 3D did. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, um, I don't like those criticisms. You know what I mean?
Me neither. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the guy who made Suspiria makes this now, and it's like, fuck you, dude. Dario Argento is 82 years old, ladies and gentlemen. He's been making movies since 1970. Okay, it is 2022. That is a long time. Uh, I mean, anyone still making movies, still out there, still putting out new shit should be fucking applauded. Like people like him and Cronenberg, Scorsese. I mean, my fucking hats off to these guys. Clint Eastwood still directing fucking movies post 80. It's like, come on, man. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think it's not, you know, something that should be like cast aside. Or I feel like you can't compare anybody's shit from 30, 40, 50 years ago to what they're doing today. It's just they're unfair comparisons in general. I will say this movie, oddly enough, though, reminds me of a movie he did make 50 years ago called The Cat of Nine Tails, which was his second film with Carl Malden as a blind main character. Michael, how about that?
Yeah. But also like I would also put this film in league with some of the stuff he was doing in the 80s though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it has 80s vibe. Yes, I would agree. Especially this movie takes a few absurd moments, much like Phenomena did, much like demons and like some other things that he was involved with in the 80s and opera. Look, those movies are great and people regard them as classics, but they have their absurd, moments to them. Um, Dario's love and obsession with animals is ever present in this film. One could say there is even a callback to Suspiria in this film with the use of a large German Shepherd, right, Mike?
A heroic dog. Yes.
Yes. Not one who is gonna, not like the dog in Suspiria who, turns into a vicious maniac. However, without giving the dog's moment of glory away, the dog, takes care of business when he has to, right, Mike?
Yeah, yeah. And since this is a giallo film and a lot of it
Mhm.
has to like the payoff is not knowing who the killer is. We're not going to give away any of that information. You know what I
No,
mean?
no. It's funny. I was struggling with that for a minute, and I was like, you know what? No, it's a brand new movie. Let's not fuck it up. Um, so that we can discuss it to a degree, but without saying who the killer is, and get a little more into the overall plot. The funny thing about this movie is that even though our main character, she's a prostitute, she's living a very dangerous, kind of edgy life. Um, Once she is blind, she goes back to being a prostitute, which I thought was interesting. Did you find that a bit interesting?
Yeah. I was thinking about that because she was like, maybe some people would be into that. And I was like, maybe there is. There's all kinds of kinks out there with people.
Um, and it's funny. One of its reviews in The Guardian, Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian, made it a point to point that out. Like, he was not super dazzled by the film. He goes, director is not particularly interested in the idea of Diana changing or growing as a person in all of it.
Well, I mean, there's a point in the movie where she's like, "We're running out of money," and that's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
when you're in
right.
when you're in a situation like that. That's not where you start taking chances. You know what I mean? She knows that she's got clients.
Hmm.
She's got people that and you get the impression that they're these long-standing clients. There's
Well,
guys
yeah,
that you've
there's
seen
like
for
two in
years.
particular, those older kind of guys. There are two older gentlemen who are rich who seem to absolutely take care of her and don't seem to mind that she's blind. And um, but look, man, look, this is Dario Argento. This is a giallo. The old 82-year-old is still got, his old school kind of semi sleazy vibes. No, I mean a little bit. Like,
I
not
would.
that I think this movie is like. I don't really think this movie is like detrimental to women or anything. But Dario definitely keeps it some of that 80s kind of sleaze in this 2022 film. What do you think?
Well, I first of all, I expect to see a fair amount of that kind of stuff in a giallo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like one of the defining characteristics of the style. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, addressing her prostitution, career. All right.
Mhm.
Um, she doesn't seem particularly abused. She's got steady clients. Older
Right.
gentlemen. It's like you were saying, they kind of take care of her. Like she's not
Mhm.
out. She's not addicted to crack, like out on the
Nope.
street or something. Occasionally, she'll
Healthy.
take on some new guy, but
Mhm.
there's like the sense that there might be very like a layer between her and the streets. You know what I mean? And there
Yeah.
is one point where some guy tries to get fresh with her, and
Right.
she fucking smacks him around and maces him. So there's like there's
Yes.
like some
Yeah, that's a good scene.
yeah,
She maces him twice, actually. She maces the motherfucker twice and kicks him right in the balls and pieces out and leaves because she didn't like where it was going.
yeah,
So, yeah, it is actually empowering more than any kind of like, degrading. It's definitely not degrading.
Well, because there's a big discussion these days about sex positive and like sex worker rights and things like that. And I think that yeah, Dario is an older guy.
Yeah.
This is a little sleazy, but
Mhm.
I think that that prostitution angle is presented in a fairly respectful, modern way.
Yes,
That's how I
I'm going
see
to
it.
agree with that 100%. Um, and again, honestly, nudity in horror movies is not that prevalent anymore. It was almost nice to see some nudity in a horror movie. You just don't see it like at all. I feel like, Um, I'm even wondering if there's any in Terrifier 2. Perhaps, Uh, but I mean, I've just heard crazy, crazy good things about that one. And you know, again, like I said at the top of the show, maybe I'm just so giddy to see a new Argento movie that's good that maybe I'm blinded. Uh-huh. No pun intended.
Yeah,
Um, the thing is, it's also nice to see like, Asia again is more in the background. This is not her movie. I felt like I wasn't sure what I was really getting. Like, and then once it was kind of established, I was like, oh, she's a fairly small part of this movie. Um, and I was happy to see Dario, work with someone else because I feel like his daughter has been in a lot with him, and which is fine. I think it's actually a beautiful relationship. It was good to see that the star was someone else, Mike.
yeah, definitely. I too expected Asia to be more front and center in this one, but she was more of a supporting character.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, there's definite, the animal obsession Argento has, that he has to have some kind of animal in almost everything he's done is in this, by way of a dog and by way of a scene with sea snakes, Michael. Uh, there's a scene. I mean, is that what they are? Sea snakes? Is that my proper terminology there?
Yeah, that's what I would call them.
They're like, there's a scene where our heroine and the young boy are trying to escape the killer at night in a swampy-ish area, and they're in this water, and they get accosted by like water snakes, and it was kind of out of nowhere, right? I was pretty surprised in that scene. Were
Yeah,
you?
yeah, I was, but that definitely follows suit with Argento's use of animals in his films.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like they're biting them, and I will say that they kind of get away rather easily ultimately. I mean,
Now let me ask you a question. Do you think
mhm.
in the United States that some people may find it somewhat insensitive, culturally insensitive, with the young Chin in this movie, the Chinese boy?
Maybe. I mean, look, I don't know why directors and writers do what they do. I like sometimes I just go with the flow in a movie. And in this movie, I'm going to say I chose to go with the flow. I chose to not really analyze or overanalyze certain things. I actually landed on thinking the relationship between Diana and Chin was kind of cute. Although at times there was a time where it's like inappropriate. There's a scene where she's done with a customer,
Client,
okay,
yeah.
of the client, and then she, don't get me, Chin is not there when she's entertaining the guests. She lives in a very large, like 2-floor apartment, and she even has like a housekeeper, and she seems to have quite a bit of money as a call girl. Um, and she comes downstairs, and Chin is like kind of looking at her and smiling and going, "It's okay. Like I know what you do."
Yeah,
Like,
it's like my
like
cousin. My cousin does the same thing,
my
basically.
cousin does the same thing. Like I was like, whoa, and it's just like he's supposed to be like how old, 11 or 12 or something. Like I was dying in that scene. Look, only if you're really kind of uptight is you'll be kind of upset by some of the things in this movie. Largely, I don't know. I think it's again, you got to go with the flow. A little suspension of disbelief here with some of this movie, Mike.
Well, I don't have any feelings about it, but since we're in the business of analysis,
Yes,
I
yeah.
was watching the film, and all right, you know what I mean, and this might just be saying more about me. They kept referring to him as like the Chinese kid, the
Hmm.
escaped Chinese kid, or something like that.
Yes.
And part of me was like, is this some like Long Duck Dong kind of stuff, like from 16 Candles,
Right,
where
right.
they're like
Yeah, yeah.
using the fact that he's Chinese as like kind of like, I don't know, they're like as a, because he could have easily not been Chinese. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, yes. Then I was thinking there's a chance. Okay, it was in Italian with the subs, but I almost feel like some of those subs were they all correct? Like, because some of the things they said were just odd things to say. Period. I thought not
Yeah.
even necessarily uh, on his in his scenes and on him, but like some of the dialogue just came out weird. And look, maybe not everything in Italian translates properly conversationally, but yes, I did notice that. And I don't know if there was any malice intended or comedic, folly intended. I just kind of left it as I didn't know what to think and just kind of went with it because I actually got a kick out of the kid. I thought the relationship between a young Chinese Italian kid and a call girl was so absurd that I just went with it. You know,
Yeah, no,
that's it.
I'm fine with it myself. But since we're
Mhm.
talking in a larger sense, you know what I mean. And some people might find might. I was curious if people were complaining about that. I guess.
So far, I've seen nothing. But will that raise an eyebrow or two? My answer is yes, it will. It definitely will.
I mean, I don't give a fuck.
Because
I don't care either
yeah,
way, honestly. But I
yeah,
just think it's a talking point.
it's almost like when all these new typo negative fans start really reading Pete Steele's lyrics and going, oh, like, oh, this is what he thought. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, yes, he's this tall, sexy guy. You know what I'm saying? But behind all that vampire facade was a real man with real thoughts and thoughts about, you name it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And those thoughts and opinions may not jive well with some of his you know, millennial and Gen Z fans. Let's be honest, you know. Um, However, this time I do think uh, Dario or the people behind the movie, they cast who they cast, and again, it's look, it almost adds to just keeping in line with giallos always having a bit of like a what the to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
this is just in that sense in 2022. You know, I thought the kid was great. Like, you know, he was. I thought it was a very interesting choice of like, you know, to like a buddy film, quote unquote. Although it's not a buddy film, but it could be though.
Yeah. Well,
Um, the thing is, what we didn't really say though, although we don't want to give a lot away. Um, you know, the reason that they become connected is because in this car accident that she's involved in with the killer, uh, it ends up killing his real parents and leaving him as an orphan. And that is how their life becomes intertwined, right?
yeah, that's true. Actually, we never really discussed how she became blind. So in this accident, she has a head wound, which
Mhm.
makes her blind. You know, so that's
Yeah.
why she's blind in the first place. And yeah, so she feels somehow responsible for Chin being in the situation that he's in. So she kind of, at first he's like a runaway, and the police come looking for him.
Mhm.
Now this is where
Right.
we have the overzealous cop and his more
Yeah.
reasonable, partner. And I thought that
Yeah.
was kind of funny too. That scene.
Yeah. I will say this, a lot of people, there's a lot of a pretty decent body count in this movie. And the reason why the cast is so small is because a lot of the smaller cast is killed, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a lot
He
of
got
people are
taken out.
done away with in this movie. Yeah. And to me, probably what I think was the best kill in the movie was the very first one of another prostitute, actually, which again, won't say how she's killed, but that kind of set the tone for the movie very early on in the beginning. That was a six scene, huh?
Yeah, that opening scene kind of sets the tone. You know what I mean for the
Mhm.
entire movie, and that's when I was like, all right, cool. We're watching, a giallo. You know, there's like
Yeah,
this,
no, exactly. It's got the black gloves,
yep,
it's got the music, it's got a beautiful woman.
a knife.
That's yeah, like there was a lot to get excited about for if you're an Argento fan who's been waiting for him to do something better, and there's also things to be excited about if you're a Giallo fan waiting for a new Giallo to come out. You know, there's the people into this stuff. The numbers are not huge, folks. You have me and Mike Hill, and we of course have a bunch of you listening. But I feel like this is it's a subgenre that is not the slasher subgenre. It is not the vampire subgenre. It is not the zombie subgenre. It's a small little club, so to speak. Mike, would you agree?
Yeah, and also it's a uniquely European thing. Even though there are some American films that borrow from the genre, and
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about them, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's like a very unique, very specific type of style.
Right. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, in the coming weeks, what people will be saying about this movie. Like I said, I've kind of stayed away from it, but now once we've had the episode out, and I've seen the movie, I do want to see what people thought of it. Um, Rotten Tomatoes, it's got 56% based on 43 reviews with an average rating of 5.4 out of 10. Let's be honest, that is not the place I would go to for this kind of movie to see some shine. Would you?
I never paid attention to any of that stuff, man. A lot of movies I love get shit on by Rotten Tomatoes, so I just
Yeah.
I go by word of mouth. People I know, things like that.
Yeah. Interesting note from Michael Nordine at Variety. Uh, while those blindly devoted to Argento will fail to see how patently ridiculous his latest offering is, only those immune to the puerile charm of attack dogs, eclipses, and water snakes will fail to enjoy dark glasses even a little. So he liked it. Didn't love it. He liked it. IndieWire gave it a B plus, calling it a spiky giallo that wants nothing more than to be labeled a return to form. If it falls ever so short, you've got to give it points for trying. Now, look, that's interesting that he said that, a return to form. I don't know if I would go as far as to say it's a return to form for Argento, because, again, man, like his last, for me, his last total banger giallo, in a way, might have been Tenebrae with Sleepless below that. I actually think opera is just okay. Like a lot of people love opera. I don't like love opera. Um, but I will say this, much like this reviewer in IndieWire, it does come close to a return to form. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you know, he hasn't made a movie this good in decades, man. So
Yeah.
I would call that a return to form. It's
Yeah.
like the
Yeah,
closest
I mean,
thing he's
look,
made to his heyday.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I just think some of these people are looking at things like the water snakes and some of the clunky dialogue, and they're just, I don't know. They're not kind of they're not remembering their old giallos perhaps, or they've never seen their old giallos, or you know, they're stuck on this guy made Suspiria. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, you kind of got to put that to the side, I think, for this movie to get more enjoyment out of it. That's what I think.
So
Not
at
to accept something shitty, not to accept a subpar movie just because. It's just that I feel like it's never going to live up to his best 4 or 5 movies. It's just not going to do that. It's not deep red. It's just not.
yeah,
Mm.
what would you give this movie in our rating system here?
You're going to be surprised,
Okay.
but it gets a 3.5.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
not a 4. It's not a 4 because I felt like 4 was a little high, because I don't know. It's almost like a 3.5 plus in a way. Like I don't know. I kind of changed my mind. It was a 4, but I landed on a 3.5. 3 means see it. 3.5 means absolutely see this movie, because you do need to see this movie. It's a good movie. I just wasn't sure if it was a 4 star for me, um, because it does get clunky and it is silly, but it was super enjoyable. Um, who knows? Maybe I will land on a 4, but today, like after my thoughts and my notes, I did land on 3.5. What about you?
Well, this is how I arrived at my score. Okay. I was like, this is a B minus film.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, what roughly coincides with a B minus is 3.5.
Uh, I thought you were giving us a 4.
No,
I did.
no, oh, maybe I graded a little bit on a curve, knowing
Hmm.
what the rest of his like best material is.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because it is superior to some of the other films. But once again, we're comparing this to movies that are like 40 years old at this point.
I know. And like listeners, you don't need to see Dracula 3D. You don't need to see it. Like, I don't even give Dracula 3D a 3.
Yeah.
You need to see it if you are an Argento completist. I'm an Argento completist. I had to see the fucking movie. Okay. Um, this 3.5 comes with like a bullet. Like check this movie out. This may even end up in the top 5 for me of the year. How about that? With a 3.5, because
Okay.
I did enjoy this movie. I enjoyed it. Um, who knows? It could be a 4, but I landed on 3.5, and it's very interesting that you did as well. Interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely not a 4 in my reckoning, but it's not a 3. And like I
Right.
said, it's a B minus piece. And
Mm.
that's how I got a 3.5. And the fact that you might list it in one of your top 5 is like strong. You know,
Yeah,
that's like a very powerful statement there. It's almost like how,
it might be. It
yeah,
might be.
like
Say it is.
how like a fighter can get like a title shot coming off a loss. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's interesting.
It's reminiscent of how did the Mets win over 100 games and they didn't make it to the playoffs? How about that? It's reminiscent of that. Yeah, very
Yeah.
sad, disturbing. Um, as a Met fan, very interesting year. Perplexing is the word. Um, why are they not playing baseball right now? They won so many games. Um, but yeah, again, it was fun and good to see a movie like this again, a new movie from our old pal Dario Argento, 82, making movies. Apparently, he wants to make another one. I need to see him acting in that movie he did, My Kill.
Oh yeah. I
What
don't
the
know,
hell's that
man.
movie called? Uh,
That movie sounds like real fucking depressing, man.
I know, yeah, like I want to see it, but I'm a little afraid to see it. Yeah, it's
Isn't
like,
that a
yeah,
Gaspar No movie?
yeah, it is. Yeah. Uh, Vortex. Yeah, it's called Vortex.
Ah, there's that fucking word again, man.
I know. I
Vortex.
know. It's a psychological drama about a father and his wife and their son, and I bet I don't know, like the elderly couple struggling with declining mental and physical health of their adult son, who's also dealing with significant personal problems. I bet it's dark.
Well, you know, it's a Gaspar No too, man. That guy's like super dark.
Yeah, and it's 142 minutes. I've got to see it though. I got to make an attempt to see it.
I'm definitely gonna see it. Is it streaming anywhere or can you rent it?
That's a good question. I'm going to look this up now because I feel like it should be. Uh, let's see. Gaspar, no. Where Vortex in USA? No, no. Let's see. Vortex. Where can you see this thing? I well, it says it's on Apple TV for $15,
Oh, you can
Vudu for
rent it.
$6. Yeah, you can rent it. Yeah.
All right. You know, maybe not right now is probably
Right.
might not be a good time for me to see this because there's some shit that's you know recent
Mhm.
stuff going on in my life. But yeah, I definitely want to see it because I love Gaspar No, Dario. I always back everything he does on some to some extent. You know.
Yeah, some reviews. A devastating meditation on aging. You got to be in the right head for that.
Yeah,
You
nah,
know,
that definitely. But it's gonna be seen at some point. That's all I can say
indeed.
about it.
Yeah, I mean, I try to see all of Gaspar Noé's movies. Climax was amazing.
Yeah.
I did not see Lux Eterna, his
Oh,
experimental film.
yeah, I haven't seen that one either.
Yeah, experimental movie. His movies are not for everybody, but
Absolutely, man.
they're quite good if you have the head and the stomach for it, as they say, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, as I said at the top of the show, this is a very busy October, busy Halloween season. We're going to get to the movies that I'm pretty sure the listeners want us to get to, and I know I want us to get to, of course. So, you know, be patient. You will have a new episode every friggin' week, right, Mike?
One way or the other, yes.
One way, exactly. Yeah, not going to look. But yeah, there you have it. Our take on the news from Argento, Dark Glasses. See this movie. Fun movie. Fun wild ride.
Actually, isn't this like the third episode that you and I have done in a row on this, Mike?
Yes, it is, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Just so you know, Jeff is okay. He will be back. Jeff is okay.
Yeah.
In case anyone's wondering. Jeff will be back on the program soon. And do not worry. Right, Mike?
That's right. And you're actually going to get all three of us together fairly soon.
That's right. For the old three-way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right, guys. Remember, subscribe, and tell a friend. And hope you're enjoying the Halloween season. And we will see you next time, right, Mike?
That's right. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.